I set up my own like dock camera here, so it's pretty ratchet, but we're gonna make it work, okay? So I'm just gonna walk through for you the solutions from the Google quiz that was yesterday's assignment, okay? So this was number 1. This is already in factored form. So what's nice when you're already in factored form and you're solving for x, you're just going to set each factor equal to 0 to solve for the x-intercepts. So I don't think you had questions on that, but I still thought it'd be good to walk you through. So here we're going to subtract 3. So I have 2x equals negative 3, divide by 2. So x is equal to negative 1.5. So one of the x-intercepts is negative 1.5 comma 0. Okay. Over here we add 6, a lot quicker. So x equals 6. So this x-intercept would be 6 comma 0. So for number 1 on the Google quiz, you should have had choice C comma D. Okay. Then if I scroll here, I think number 2 is what you had more of your questions on, right? So number 2, it had this y equals x squared minus 2x minus 15. Okay. Here, to find the y-intercept first, so this is a quadratic equation, y-intercept is when x is equal to 0. Okay, so to find the y-intercept, I'm going to replace these x's with 0. Okay, all becomes 0 there, so you're left with y equals negative 15. So the y-intercept would be 0 comma negative 15. Okay, so that's for number 2, to find the y-intercept. Okay, so then number 3 is really what your email was asking about, okay? On number 3, you had that same quadratic equation, y equals x squared minus 2x minus 15. This is where things get tricky, finding those x-intercepts. So what stings here is I have to first turn it into factored form, okay? So to get this turned into factored form, I know Mr. Butler showed you hopefully the box and diamond to help you organize factoring. So I draw my box, here's my diamond. Okay, I want to talk about this diagonal first, okay? This is where I fill in my x squared and my negative 15. We multiply this to get the top of the diamond. So this is a negative 15x squared. So what I'm really thinking about is what multiplies to make these two, but what adds to the middle, to make that middle term. So two numbers that multiply to negative 15, but add to negative 2, okay? So I start thinking about what multiplies to 15. Well, I know 1 times 15. I know 3 times 5, and that's where I kind of get to the roadblock, right? I want a negative 2 and a negative 15. So when I'm here, the only way that's going to make this true with the 3 and 5 is if the 5 is negative and the 3 is positive, okay? My box is pretty tiny, so I'm going to draw it really big for you here. All right, so I multiplied to the x squared and negative 15, and now these are my two kind of like mini factors, right? So I have my negative 5x and my 3x. Okay, now that's the hardest part, getting to here. Now I'm going to pull those factors out. What I like to start at this one. I look at, okay, what do these guys have in common? The only thing they have in common is that x. Okay, well, then it's kind of like a puzzle in that I go over to think about, all right, how do I get to x squared? Well, x times x is the only thing that'll get me to x squared. All right, then I come back over here, 3x, right? So I'm multiplying x times what gives me 3x? I have to multiply by 3. And then finally here, x times what gives me a negative 5x, okay? That has to be a negative 5. Negative 5 times x is negative 5x. Last part is to just check, okay, does negative 5 times 3 get you to negative 15? Yes. So my factored form would be y equals x minus 5, x plus 3. All right, so number 3 on the Google quiz, we have to go one step further. I still have to get the x-intercepts, meaning setting these equal to 0 and solving for x. So x minus 5 equals 0, and x plus 3 equals 0. Solving for x, add that 5, so x equals 5. Subtract that 3, and x equals negative 3. As write them as x-intercepts, their coordinates. It's when y is equal to 0. So I have negative 3 comma 0. And looking at your choices on the Google quiz, this would be point A and point D. So your answer would be A comma D. Okay. All right, let's do number 4. So hopefully that helps walking through there. Number 4 says, for this equation, this is number 4, y equals x squared minus 2x minus 15. Okay, and it asks you, what is the vertex? Oh, there's my dog yawning. Okay, for the vertex here, to find the x value of the vertex, we're going to use this formula, negative b over 2a. And if you forget it, you can always go back and Google it, okay? The b value is always the value in front of your x, and the a is the value in front of the x squared. Well, the number here, even though it's not written, is 1. So my b equals negative 2, and my a value is 1. All right, I'm going to fill it into this formula now. So I have x is equal to a negative, my b, I'm going to use parentheses when I'm substituting in, over 2 times 1. Hopefully you can see how I just replaced that b with negative 2. I replace this a with 1. Simplifying, negative times a negative makes that a positive 2. And then 2 times 1 is still 2. Well, 2 divided by 2 means x is 1. That's the x value of the vertex, okay? I still need to find the y. So to find the y, I'm going to substitute my x value back into the original equation to find the y, all right? So y equals 1 squared minus 2 times 1 minus 15. So I have 1 minus 2 minus 15. 1 minus 2 minus 15 is a negative 16. So the point here for the vertex would be 1 comma negative 16. So this is the breakdown and walkthrough of how you find the vertex for any quadratic equation, okay? So hopefully that helps you finding the vertex. And then the last problem, it's really just one I don't want you to stress or focus on too much, but still valuable. You have the quadratic equation y equals, and what's crazy about this one is it looks funky, and here's why. It's in vertex form. So when it's in factored form, it's a little easier. When it's in standard form, you kind of have an idea, but vertex form, you don't see a ton until Algebra 2, but it is important to know that it's still a quadratic, it just looks different. When you're in vertex form, the best thing about vertex form is you know the vertex, okay? Think about when we're in factored form and we set this equal to 0 and solve. For example, if I have x minus 1 equals 0, well, we add 1, x is 1, okay? So when you're coming out of those parentheses, that sign flips, right? So the x value of the vertex is 1, the y value is on the outside, and because it's not within a parentheses, it's not changing sign as you're setting equal to 0 to solve. So when we subtract 5, this is the y value for the vertex. So for number 5, your vertex would be 1 comma negative 5. Like I said, this one isn't as much of a focus of chapter 8. If you can, work on factoring and finding the vertex, the big one that obviously you want to make sure you come back and look at, and what your email was really asking about, was number 3, this process, okay? So check it out. I know this is like I bet it's all flipped and upside down. I'm going to try to edit this video so you can see everything, okay? And I know that was 10 minutes, so it's a long start, pause it, and just anytime you have a question, just keep sending me back pictures of the question, and I'll send you a video of a breakdown. All right, talk to you soon. Bye.